Good morning. I'm Toni from the Fiberology Lab. Sure, it clicks on live the moment I put the cup to my mouth. So, this is the coffee chat. It's something new I've started in the last couple of weeks. And the goal was for me to come in and talk a little bit about what's going on in the store, what I have coming. And in that process, I thought, well, why don't I teach you how to quilt a little bit? You know, even if been quilting for years, this is something that you can maybe learn from or give me ideas and suggestions to do it differently. I'm very open to suggestions because that's how I learn. And we've got to find what works for us. So I'm here live on YouTube, 10 o'clock Eastern time zone to do Tuesday through Thursday. So I won't be doing this tomorrow. I'm going to go back to my Friday with friends at noon on Fridays. But 3 days out of the week, I'm going to come in and give you a little snippet of quilting basics. Today, we are actually at a point where we are going to be sewing and talk about accuracy in sewing. So I'm going to sit here. I came out a minute or two early just to get those wonderful algorithms moving and see if anybody comes in and joins me. Good morning, Miss Christine. Good morning, Phil. I hope you girls are doing great today. Um, it is pretty nice today here. It's in northeast of Florida, and these are actually Christine and Phil are rather close neighbors. I would say a couple hours from me. They probably have the similar weather. Maybe they have rain. What do you guys got? You got rain in your area? Inquiring minds want to know. So, like I said, I came on a few minutes early. I've never, I'm still learning YouTube and the algorithm pieces in that. And, we have a very small following. So don't forget to subscribe if you're watching this on the replay. Thank you so much for watching it on the replay. And I'm just trying to figure it all out. I want to do it all, but I want to be consistent when I do it. So that's why I'm coming in on at 10 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday every week to have a coffee chat with you. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And yeah, I didn't do my live show yesterday afternoon. I'm still catching up. So when you're gone for 5 days in your business, there's emails that you have to finish up. There's social media you have to post. There's inventory you have to deal with. So I'm still trying to get through all of that. I'm about to have a breather. So I will be totally ready tonight when we do our Thursday night live sales at 8 p.m. Eastern. And I have things to show. I'm very excited about that. Some new things that are coming into the shop that are coming straight out of market, and some future things that are coming. No rain, but it's 64 degrees. Oh, Phil, that is a wonderful temperature. I think we're a little warmer here. But I bet if I went to the beach, you probably wouldn't be as warm. But I like that idea of 64 temperatures in Florida. Not a bad thing. Actually, I'm enjoying fall in Florida. Fall in Florida. Say that 3 times fast. So if you are watching, say hi and where you're from so I can give you a shout out because I love to acknowledge your time. And I do appreciate your time watching me ramble. So that's all I feel like I'm doing. I'm just rambling, just sharing information that I have in my head with you just to add and confuse your information you probably already have. That's what I'm here for. That's my skit. So, and it's not 10 yet, so I'm not going to dive right into what our lesson is for today. Don't forget, if you are following along, join our mighty networks. It's friendsfibersfun.com club. Let me find that one really quick. And in that group, in that forum, there is a group called Coffee Chat Quilt Basics. That is where you'll find the PDFs. I've been doing a PDF for every session, and as I'm going along, I'm updating them as well. Something to keep in mind: this is a free learn to quilt class. Essentially, I'm giving tons of information because that's how I do my classes. They are so. Remember the first class that we do, which is I'm still in that 2.5 hours of first class, is so much information they get overwhelmed. But this is great because I'm doing it in small segments for you to learn slowly and at your own pace. But I have a PDF for you. And after I've done this whole series on the coffee chat, I'm going to release it as a paid class. So just keep that in mind. Bonus for you right now as you follow along. Who else has joined us? Hey, good morning, Linda. Fall's great in Florida and lasts until February. February it gets really cold. I tend to visit before we move down here. I tend to visit in January, February, and March, and it gets in the 40s. So they actually have a semi-winter. So I'm pretty excited about that too. I did not make the morning sunrise today. I went yesterday, so I'll probably do it tomorrow. I like to go every couple of days, and hopefully there's no clouds. Though it is pretty when the sun rises behind the clouds. I'm not complaining. Nope, no complaints here. I'm very excited. So if you are following along, do you guys who are following along, do you guys have your fabric ready for this project? I think it was in session 3. I said what fabric you need: a light, medium, dark, and an inner border and outer border. Your outer border is the first one. Oh, that's what I need. I need to start remembering this too. I had questions. Somebody is asking about the yardage for your fabric in the middle, and your borders was so much bigger. As I've taught this class for over 10 years now, I always encourage people to bring in fabric. So in a store, then we go around and I teach them color, how to pick for that fabric. And I don't know what they're going to bring in. So when I don't know what they're going to bring in, I need to have them bring in a larger amount in case it's a directional. So I'm going to talk about how to cut directional fabric. And the other thing about the 1 1/4 for your border fabric, your focus fabric, is ideally you do want to cut your borders with the grain because there's no stretch and pull on it. I'm going to talk about that later when we get to borders, but I'm just answering that question in case you're curious why we need so much for the border when inside is not that much. That's why, just so you know. All right, who's got their morning beverage? Who has got their morning beverage today? I like dark roasted coffee because it's got more flavor. I like strawberry, but it has less caffeine. But you didn't know that. Didn't know that, did you? Well, if you did, you must be a coffee drinker. All right. So today we're going to talk about sewing accuracy. And it doesn't just mean that 1/4 inch seam needs to be accurate. That is a big part of it. But there's pieces to help make that 1/4 inch seam more accurate before we even get there. So the first thing and the most important thing is clean your machine. Clean your machine. Coffee caramel. That sounds good, Christine. I like caramel in my coffee and chocolate too. Clean your machine. What that means, you're going to remove your stitch plate, take some Q-tips, take all that lint out of there, pull out your bobbin case, pull out if you can, lift up your bobbin case out of your machine. And what I've decided to do for these pieces, there's a couple of pieces in this particular session. I am going to make mini videos on how to service your machine because I can't get the camera in the angle and be at, it's like I'm in 3 spots right now. So I'm going to do a mini video on that in our Mighty Networks forums under our quilt chat, coffee chat. I should call it quilt chat. Maybe I'll change it. I'll think about that. But it's so important to clean your machine and not just your stitch plate. If you are able to open the top part around your needle, open that side and get all that lint out as well is just as important. So that's the first thing. Before we start a project, we want to clean the machine. You probably will need to fill up a bobbin and you probably need to change the needle. I'll talk about the needle in a minute. Oh, Christine, I love those swabs, and I'll do that video and show you. That's what I like too. Or most machines come a really nice lint brush as well. The other thing, I know people don't like to hear it. I know it costs you money. Get your machine serviced. So if you are using grandma's machine and it works great, I don't need to mess with it. You need to get it serviced. It needs to be greased and it needs to be oiled. And there's probably stuff in that back end of that machine that you have no clue how it got there. It's amazing. I've serviced machines probably over 8 years now, plus my own. And I take them completely apart. And then Mr. Fiberology was doing our servicing last year and had to teach him how to do all that. I have found strange things in machines, especially when it comes in, oh, grandma or mom just gave me this machine and so dry. If you have a dry machine, it's gonna eventually lock up. It's gonna not create even stitching. So I encourage you to get your machine serviced before you really dive in to learning to quilt. Now, if you have a brand new machine in the box, you don't need to worry about it. I do recommend it every year. I know it's a lot. Well, Toni, I only sew pants and curtains once a month. That's different. If you're only going to be doing a little bit, like I would say less than a couple hours a month, then yeah, you can go out for 2 years. But every year you need to service it because the oil dries up, the grease dries up, and lint builds up in your machine. Now, if you are an avid quilter, I have met a few who sew 20 hours a week. You want your machine serviced every 6 months. You want to make sure you get that lint out of there. Hey there, Miss TC. Good to see you today. I hope you had a great Wednesday with your friends up there in Oak Ridge. I miss you guys all so much. So that's the first thing you want to clean your machine, have it serviced. Some machines, most modern machines nowadays don't require oil in their bobbin case area. Read your manual. Read your manual. If you don't have your manual and it's a newer machine, I would say even in the last 10 years, go online and find your manual. You need that to have that reference point too. You should not put any oil in your machine if it's an oil-free machine. In my opinion, there is no such thing as an oil-free machine. That's why you go to a technician and they put the oil in for you. So just something to think about. Check and see if you need to oil your machine as well, especially if you have featherweight or if you have an older machine that has a lot of metal parts. You need to be oiling that probably every 6 to 8 hours. And one thing I'm going to say right now, do not use canned air on your machine. I know it's so much easier because all those fuzzies, not only are you blowing dust and fuzz into your home, but that canned air has moisture in it. And if you spray it, especially in your bobbin area, it's going to rust. So make sure you don't use canned air on your machine at all. Don't do it. Now, if you have an air compressor and the husband has an air compressor in the garage and you want to do it, that's great. But I encourage you to either turn it down to low pressure so it doesn't blow springs off, or put it through like a towel or something to where it's not going to be so high pressure when you go ahead and blow it out. Oh, I'm glad, TC. I'm glad you had a great time. So Christine says, I was starting to clean my machines. I left mine plugged in and I got my hair cut. Ooh, yeah. Make sure you unplug your machine when you service it. How funny. And Phil says she tells her customers, think of a machine like our cars. Sitting is not good. Exactly. The oil dries up and it'll make those gears not work very well. All right. So that's the first thing you need to do for sewing accurate. We're still just talking about how to get our sewing machine to accurately sew for us. So clean your machine, have it serviced. The next two pieces that we have, all this is on my handout. So if you're taking notes, you can take notes, but I have it in a PDF so you can download it in our Mighty Networks forum. Is needles. So for piecing, I'm going to talk about different needles and different threads. But for right now, we are getting ready to piece. And that is where we're building the blocks in our quilt. We're going to sew fabric and make the top of our quilt. So we need to have a needle and thread that kind of lace, allows the fabric to lay thinner and flatter. So we have accurate 1/4-inch seams. So the first thing I encourage, again, this is just my recommendation and what I enjoy using, and I know it's successful for me, is a sewing machine needle of 80/12 size, and I like Sharps or Microtex. So I do use Schmidt's, but I have also used Bernina brand. I've used Janome brand. They have the same kind of concept. You want a sharp. Most of them tend to be a purple tipped needle for you to do that size. Now, I do not use Singer's. I think that's mainly the same, only needle I don't use. Mainly because they shatter when they break, and that's the big thing, and they dull fast. Schmidt's are a long time using Bernina, and you can use the same needle across different brands. I think it's one of my, I don't want to say pet peeves. Okay, that's what it is, a pet peeve. Where machine says you have to use our branded needle. You don't. It's just like rotary cutters, blades. You can use the same brand. You can use a different brand in any, as long as it says 45 millimeters. Same thing with the needles, as long as it's not a serger. Now, serger machines are different than sewing machines, so keep that in mind. But you want an 80/12 Sharp or Microtex. It creates a finer point. It creates a smaller hole to allow the thread to go through. Saying that, you want a thread that's lightweight. I use a 50 weight personally. I like Mettler's 50 weight. I have used Orfil. I have used Gutermann. I don't like Coats and Clark because it will coat your machine in the inside. Again, being a technician, I've seen how that builds up. So if you have all that and you're like, well, I want to use it for handwork. Don't use it in your machine because it will eventually cake up your machine. So your needles need to be a sharp microtex. This is for piecing. I'll talk about quilting later. And same with thread. Thread, you want 50 or 60 weight thread. I use cotton. I think natural fibers with natural fibers. But if you have a cotton poly blend and you want to use that, totally up to you. Yes, they talk about how polyester will cut through cotton fabric through time. But again, use what you got and just be wise. That's what we got to do. Okay, so needles, threads. Oh, 1/4 inch seam foot. I should have brought my foot over here. Let me do that real quick. So most machines do not come with this foot, but this foot is a lifesaver for creating an accurate 1/4 inch seam. So this is what my 1/4 inch seam looks like for a Janome. It's the O foot, and you can see it's got a metal guide, and that's what I'm going to push up my fabric to it. I'm not going to push it where it pushes the metal out of the way. I want to use it as a guide. So I ride my fabric up against that guide. So your machine probably has one of these that you have to purchase. Now, if you got a swanky machine, something that's really nice, you probably came with it. I probably came with it. But if you have grandma's machine, you're probably going to have to go online and look for something that's similar if you want this. I encourage it because it makes it a lot easier to enjoy your sewing process. Now, the other thing I will say about the 1/4 inch feet is that, especially for me, my Janome default, because my Janomes have a default 1/4 inch seam built in, so you could use this foot. I don't like it. It's too accurate, meaning I have no fudge space. I prefer a scant 1/4 inch, which so I move my needle positioning over like 1 or 2, depending on the project. So if I'm doing something that needs a lot of precision, I'll actually bring it over a couple needle positionings. Or if it's more where I'm just doing like these, I will move it over 1. So just something to think about. Even if you have a 1/4 inch for your machine, check it out to see if it's truly a 1/4 inch where you like it. And now, while you can take that ruler and measure that 1/4 inch seam, I don't know if you can see my 1/4 inch seam on that. Remember, it's going to be opened up and pressed. So that's where you want to see how the accuracy works. So you can measure it here, but then remember we talked about what's the other accuracy processes. Don't pronunciate, guys. Cutting correctly and pressing. I'm going to talk about pressing here in a minute. Are microtex and sharps the same? Yes, they are, Miss Phil. They are very much the same. In fact, if you look at Schmidt's, it will say microtex / sharps or sharp / microtex. Let me see if I have a pack here, because I do carry them in store. So this is the brand I carry, and it has the chrome. I like the chrome because it lasts a little bit longer. And you do want to change out your needles about every 6 to 8 hours. They dull fast, and you think, oh yeah, that's not very long. Think about it after every bobbin or something like that. Maybe that might help you. Same time after every bobbin, we're cleaning out our bobbin area and taking the lint out. So these are, as you can see, it says Microtex Sharp. It's the same. And again, brands are different brands will say sharps. I think Microtex is actually a Schmidt's kind of branding name, so I don't know. Hello from Italy. Okay, well, hello to you too. Okay, where are we at? 1/4 inch foot, I got it. Now, if you don't have a 1/4 inch foot, you want to check your 1/4 inch seam. You're going to take that ruler, bring that needle down. I'm going to do a video on this to show you how to do that. I recommend blue painter's tape to lay across the throat of your sewing machine so you can, have that guide as you're doing it. But I do encourage you to get a 1/4 inch foot. Just saying. All right. So what we're going to do today is we're going to sew our 3 strips that we cut from yesterday's homework into a set. We're gonna have 3 strip sets. Don't get ahead of me. Just let me go with this. I'm going to show you what we're going to sew 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you're going to go dark, medium, and light. And you're going to make 3 sets. Then you're going to press them. And then that's it. You're going to hang them up. And then tomorrow's session, I'm going to talk about how we do that. So I'm going to switch cameras and show you how to press Now we're at a point where we've pressed our fabric. We all know how to do that now. We've cut our fabric. We all know how to do that now. Now we're going to be pressing blocks and strip sets and a couple other things over the next couple weeks. And it's a little different. And same with cutting. So tomorrow what we'll do is we'll be cutting from this and scoring up our blocks. I'll talk about that tomorrow. But let me switch my camera to my workstation. And I've got some natural sunlight coming in the window, so hopefully you guys, it doesn't look too, there we go, look too dark. So I'm showing this really quick, and then I'm going to show you actually how to press. Let me turn there we go. This particular strip set, I pressed it 2 different ways. And I'm curious, how many of you will take a strip set like this, go up to the iron, just like this, and go zoom, 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 right? And then you flip it over, and then you go to measure it and find out it's a 1/4 inch off. When you press from the back of a strip set or anything on the back side, what happens is you create folds in your seams. You can't, I don't know if you can see that. So when I pull it, see how there's a fold of fabric there from pressing from the back side? Same here. So what you want to do is you always press from the front if you are not pressing open. I'm a presser opener. I'm going to show that here in a second. But if you are pressing from, if you are not pressing open, you always press from the front. And the way I do it is I release the seam. So I'm going to show you how we undo stuff too. Let me get that on. Turn that on real quick. So what you're going to do is you're going to release the seam. What that does is when we get this out from under the needle, it gets really tight. So I'm going to take the iron, and iron releases those fibers and lets them relax. So that's another way of accuracy with pressing, because if you don't do that, you will lose a little bit in your seam allowance. And then I flip it and brush it. I do not pull it. I just brush it up. Remember, if you pull, you're going to stretch and distort your fabric. So I just brush it up to make it lay flat. Now this, again, I did this one already. You can tell I pressed from the back here, and this one I did not. But then we're going to make sure we're all laying flat. There is no folded spaces. So when we get to the next step, we'll be cutting and squaring down. Let me show you how I do my open seams. So this one I have done one side already. This we need to release it first. So I'm going to take the iron and I just kind of glide. Remember when I talked about ironing, we want to glide the iron. We don't want to sit there and push and put a lot of weight on it. That's why I like a heavy iron. We just glide it. So again, that releases that seam. Then I'm going to open it up. And I also like an iron that's got a really good point on it. And this is why. So I'll start it with my fingers. They have pressing tools that you can use. I'm left-handed, so if you're saying, why is it going that direction? It's coming from the wrong direction. And I kind of guide the open seam with my fingers and just kind of let it slide down. Now, sometimes it might get wrinkly, so I will kind of have to shift it a little bit. And we just go back and glide it all the way down. Now, once I've pressed it from the back this time, I will make sure it lays flat on the front, and I glide it this direction. Instead of going right on top of the seam, I make sure I get the whole width of this particular strip. Now, if your pattern is going to call for like multiple layers of strips, you might want to press first, like the first 2, then add the other 2 strips and press them and then add them. So that way you're not like trying to sit here and fight with 7 layers of strips. Just an idea. Do things in halves and quarters and then until you get them all together. So very simple homework today. We are going to go ahead and take our, oops, let me get my thing here working. It's not working right. There we go. We're going to get our 3 strip sets together. We're going to press them and then we'll hang them up, and we'll come back tomorrow morning on, not tomorrow, tomorrow's Friday. We'll come back Tuesday. So you have a whole weekend to do this. You don't have to do it today. But you have time to get onto our Mighty Networks and get all the PDFs and look at them as I'm updating them as I go along. So we're going to make 3 strip sets. I'll be back Tuesday, and I'm going to show you what we're going to do. We're making 6.5-inch blocks. So the other thing I encourage you to do is pull out a 6.5-inch ruler that we will use to square these blocks up and cut them apart. But I'll talk about that Tuesday. I don't want to get into that. Remember, small sessions. I realize these videos have been going like 40 minutes. I'm like, that's not my intention, but it happens. So does anybody have any questions? Anything else? You want any questions? Questions? Going once, twice? Should I show you what some stuff that I have from market since I wasn't able to do a live show, I'll still probably do one this weekend, but I can show you something from market that I'll probably talk about tonight. Don't forget Tony's today. Comment sold. That's right. Comment sold tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern. So one of the things I was at market was to find new block of the months. We have one starting in January. I'll talk about it tonight in our live comment sold. You can watch our comment sold in our app. You can go to our website, you go to the Google Store or the App Store and download it for free at the Fiberology Lab. Or you can watch it on Facebook or Instagram or our group. There's all sorts of places. Or our website. We're everywhere. It's scary. But this is a line of fabric. This is a blender line. It's missing 8 brights. They didn't have them available for show and tell. From Poppy Cotton. So this was something that was that somebody recommended me to look into and talk to them. And they are the most sweetest people ever. And the block of the month that we're going to kick off in January is using these fabrics. So this blender line is called Farmhouse Favorites. If you know me for a day or two, not normally my style. But you know what? What the heck? They're cute. They're fun. I thought you might like them too, you know. So I'm stepping a little bit out of my box. It's not my comfort zone because I still like them because they're bright. It's just not my style. But that's okay. It might be your style. So this blender line has 4 different textures in it. First one is Hugs and Kisses with the X's and O's. And each one of these 4 textures has about 8 pieces or 8 colors of them. This one is called, this one's called Bandana. It has a little bandana motif. This one is Gingham. Look at the center of the gingham though. You guys see that? It's got a little star going on and it's so cute. And then this is my favorite. So they have a white with these speckles on it. It's called Confetti. These are micro tiny dots, but they're really fun in each of the colorways. So customer service is very important to sell fabric. Sometimes, but you know, if I don't enjoy it, I can't sell it. So, but I really like this because it's bright. It's bright and it's different. And it's a small company. They're out of Vancouver, Washington. And I am sweaty. The sun's hitting this window. I am hot. I am sorry. But this is a block of the month that uses all these fabrics for 12 months starting in January. I'm going to talk about it tonight on our live. And then I did find another one that won't start until I think I'm going to do it in July. And it's a Halloween one, but it's a sampler. It is stinking cute. And I'm going to use these fabrics. They have a new Halloween line that I have ordered and the Christmas line as well. I've already ordered Christmas and Halloween for next year. It's crazy. So that's some things that I have. And then there's a couple new things from by Annie, new patterns. One of them is a fold over purse that I love. I'm going to show that. I'm going to talk about that. And I got so much stuff on market. I'm so excited. And I have products, so that's even more exciting. So yeah, Christine, the block of the month is cute. It's farmhouse like. It's got birds. It's got beehives. I'll show you a picture. It's stinking cute. Anything else? All right. So that's our little coffee chat for today. You know, go home. You guys are home. Most of you are. Go sit and do your homework, and I'll see you Tuesday for that. But I will be back Monday with our weekly lab report. We are part of a shop hub. We've got 12 days of giving. We have so much going on at the end of this month. I'm getting it all situated. I'm going to keep you entertained because that's my job, to keep you entertained. Have fun doing it because I'm having fun. I hope you have fun. I will see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern on Comment Sold in our app or on Facebook. You can watch us there. If you have any questions, you can email me at info@fibrologylab.com. You guys have a great Thursday, and I will see you soon. Take care, and remember, we are friends, fibers, and fun.